Hi everybody, welcome to Textual Criticism of the Old and New Testaments. This is sort of a continuation of a series that we've been doing for the past week and a half on our daily data. And we're going on with it because there's been such a good response. And of course, if you don't like it, start letting me know. But I feel like this stuff is pretty interesting and there's a lot more that we could cover, so let's get into it. For the next couple of days, we're going to be looking at errors of the copyist. So what kinds of errors did the copyist make, the scribes make? There were unintentional errors and intentional changes. So for the next 2 days, we're going to look at unintentional errors. Today, we'll look at part 1, the first series of unintentional errors. By the way, there's a book Paul Wegner wrote, Student's Guide to Textual Criticism of the Bible, Its History, Methods, and Results, published in 2006 by IVP, InterVarsity Press. So, excellent book. Most of the information is going to be coming out of it just because it's put together in such a useful way. But I recommend you get it if you're interested in this topic and follow along with us as we go. So, we're going to look at mistaken letters, homophony, haplography, and dittography. So mistaken letters. There are a lot of letters in both the Hebrew Bible and in the New Testament Greek that look similar to each other. And one example here from the Hebrew Bible is the confusion of resh and dalet. So resh is an R sound, dalet is a D sound. The resh is there on the left, the dalet on the right. If you look at the first word, it's pronounced dodanim. In Genesis 10:4, dodanim. But in 1 Chronicles 1:7, we see that same word rodanim with an R, and the thought is that dodanim was a confusion, confused the word rodanim, because the resh and the dalet look so similar, and you can see them there if I can get my mouse. This is the dalet, of course, and this is the resh, and you can see the rest of the word is exactly the same, and you can see how you could confuse these two letters. In the New Testament, capitalized text, the omicron and the theta look very similar. Of course, the only difference is this horizontal line in the middle. So, has, the one who is very similar to theos. This is a shortened form of it, God. And so you can see how these two could be confused because they look so similar. So similar letters, mistaken letters. Homophony. So similar sound. So in English we say dear and dear. They sound the same, but they're spelled differently. Pain and pain. The same sort of mistakes can be made. Many of these texts were copied from dictation. So if you can, if you're listening to someone speak and you write something down, you can make mistakes. So in Isaiah 9:2, we have the word lo, lamed vav, which means to him. Or in other manuscripts, we have lo, the word for no or not. And of course, you can see the sounds are exactly the same, lo and lo. So you can see how those two would be mixed up. We've talked about this in a previous video, Romans 5:1, the difference between ekamen, we have, and ekomen, let us have. Haplography, so the deletion of a letter, word, phrase, etc., because of a co-occurrence of a similar form. So if you're reading through something, remember when you transcribe, when you copy these things, it's not like a keyboard that you have where you can sit there and know where the keys are and type without actually looking at the screen. They had to look up and then look back down to write, then look up, find their place, look back down to write. And when you do that, there are a lot of omissions that you can make or additions that you can put in, depending on the context, based on words that have similar endings or phrases that look the same. But haplography is when you skip over something because you have a similar word. So, for example, if you were copying the sentence, I like ice cream, I like dogs, I like coffee, I like music, I like, you might write, I like ice cream, then look down, right? So you'd say, I like ice cream. You'd look down, You'd write I like ice cream. You look back up and you see I like so many times there that you skip to the wrong one. So if you notice in the second sentence, I like ice cream, I like coffee, it skips over I like dogs because of the similar I like beginnings. This is a type of haplography. So in this text, the phrase B'nai, so V'nai Vinyanim, so the sons of Benjamin. If you notice the letters, even if you don't know Hebrew here, you can look at this. Beit, Nun, Yod, these three letters are the same here. Beit, Beit, Nun, Nun, Yod, Yod. So if you look down, you copy this, then you look back up, you see this, you write it, and you look back up, your eye might automatically skip here, and you just write the mem and the nun. And you delete out, it ultimately deletes out this phrase, or this word, so the sons of Benjamin. So you could delete the sons of, and as you notice, right up here, that's exactly what we think happened. And if you watched our Karei Kathiv video, you know what's going on here. This is actually a really interesting form because remember we said that they put the vowel pointing for the word that they want pronounced. Well, normally they think the word is, they think the word that's there is incorrect, so they put different vowel points on it. But here, they think that the word was deleted. They think that this word was deleted. And so instead of putting them around different consonants, they left a blank space and put the vowels in there. But again, they're not changing the consonantal text, and that's what's important. But that's a haplography there, so you can see how that happened. Dittography, and I think this is the last one we're going to cover today. The word, phrase, etc. is written twice, and sometimes for similar reasons. So, for example, in Mark 3:16, Kai poiesen tous dodeka, and he appointed the 12. That phrase is repeated from verse 14. So it looks like the scribe looked down, wrote stuff out, then when he looked back up at the original text, he wrote this phrase again because his eye skipped to the wrong verse, and so he wrote that phrase again. And then when he looked back up again, he went to the right spot and kept going. And so this is a type of dittography, so you can see the word ditto in that, ditto writing, a second writing, a copied writing. So these are some basic errors that show up all the time, and they're understandable, they're unintentional. Scribes didn't mean to do them, but this is the product of copying things by hand. So tomorrow we're going to look at part 2 of the unintentional errors. There are, I think, 5 more that we're going to go through, and then we'll move on to the intentional changes that the scribes made to the text. So join us tomorrow for part 2 of the unintentional errors. Thanks.